This program is brought to you by World Vision in Zimbabwe.
News and Current Affairs program where we pay attention to issues affecting us on a day-to-day in society. I am Yvonne Mukondani. Now, if you've been following the program in the past weeks, we have been following up closely on the issue of early marriages. What we want you to know today is that in sub-Saharan Africa, a staggering 40% of girls get married before the age of 18. Africa again constitutes of the 18 of the 20 countries with the highest rates of early marriages in the world. Now let's look at the girl child. Of course, she's denied a number of human rights just because of early marriages. In some instances, she has to discontinue with school. Some girls do not even acquire that basic human right. They are subject to a number of diseases from early and multiple pregnancies. We can even talk about sexually transmitted infections, sexual violence, domestic violence, sexually transmitted infections. I mean, the list is endless. These are some of the issues that we will be looking at during the show today. And of course, this program is proudly sponsored by World Vision, which is a Christian advocacy, humanitarian, and development organization working with children and families in Zimbabwe so as to end child marriages. Now, in the studio today, we're joined by Nyaradzai Gumbonjanda, who is the Executive Director, Rosaria Memorial Trust, and the African Union Goodwill Ambassador on ending child marriages.
Thank you.
We're also joined by Commissioner Sibongile Mawuye from the Zimbabwe Gender Commission. Commissioner.
Welcome, viewers.
Now, to start off with the conversation, we just, want to find out what we can do as a country or what we are doing pertaining this issue of early marriages. Do we have a solution in sight?
The solutions are none. We are in the middle of a crisis. Children are dying. We buried Anna Machaya. They are dying. We opened school a few days ago. They are not in school. Pregnant child. It's not even marriage we are talking about. It's child sexual abuse and rape, which is sanctioned, normalized, and sanitized by calling it a marriage. Solutions are none. This is something being caused mostly by adult men preying on little girls. So it's a crime. It's illegal. Yes, we know that there are all these underlying causes that are talked about around social norms, culture, religion, whose culture, whose religion, which sanctions rape of our children, issues of poverty, whoever gets rich from little payment of lobola. In fact, they are not paying that lobola, 5 goats and 3 chickens. Whoever gets rich from lobola. So it's a myth. What we are dealing with is myths around child marriage, causing child marriage, which is resulting in the perpetuation of rape. Let's talk about access to services for our children. They must be in school. They must have access to comprehensive sexuality education and sexual and reproductive health in clinics. They need to know how to relate and develop life skills and relationships.
You raise quite a number of pertinent issues there, and she says, children are being raped for what? For lobola. In some instances, the lobola is not even paid. Even if it's paid, it's not reason enough for us to say, okay, let's marry off young children because it's wrong. Do we have a solution in sight as a country?
We have a solution. And the first thing is that at family level, we need to know that children are our inheritance. They are our legacy, and we need to protect them. And like Nyaradzai has just said, the issue of sexuality is being spearheaded by adult males. And for me, we cannot say child marriage, but we are talking about pedophilia. It's adults abusing young children. The percentage of children marrying each other, so to speak, is very, very little. So it's adults who should have that responsibility. So it's at family level, it's at community level, and at country level for us to really align the laws that deal with this issue. I really don't want to call it early marriage even, or even to say child marriage, because it is not a marriage.
What do we have to say of women who are part and parcel of this early marriage, child marriage, rape, or whatever it is that we may want to call it.
It appears as if I was trying to put all the blame on men, but we're talking about a societal system in which everyone is recruited to support a particular thing. So in this case, we have women also who have been recruited. We call it perhaps patriarchy. So they have been recruited to support it. And they do not see sometimes anything wrong, because once a child is in adolescent stage, they think they are ready. So we are saying we need to break this, and we need to start to make this thing, to expose it as it is, that it is destroying our legacy.
She has touched on a number of issues that actually cause early marriages in society. What are the other factors that you think contribute to this ill that we're trying to fight?
Women are also victims. My mother did not choose my father. I am her 14th pregnancy. I don't know whether I am a product of love or a product of rape. At least I feel she may have loved my father finally, because I'm the last born, but I'm sure the first child was not consensual. And we had this discussion with my mother. Why? She was 13. My father was an older man. She had no choice. Her mother did not have a say in the decision about her daughter. So many of the mothers that we see do not have a say. Those who have a say, they are also worried about their personal security, because they themselves, as we have seen in the Anna Machaya case and many others, the mothers themselves may have gone into marriage as children. Shingirira mwanangu, ingawa nimba yakazosimba. You know, she may have what is socially defined as nowhere to go. So she would choose to stick into this marriage and let her daughter go than lose the marriage, lose the daughter, and her parents not support her. So what we are talking about is a system of disempowerment of women and girls. That's why we say this child sexual abuse is a gender equality issue, which is intergenerational and multi-generational. We have baskets of laws. What we have is impunity and lack of sufficient implementation of those laws. So yes, we need the Marriage Act. Definitely we need it. But how much are we using the existing laws? Because when I received the case a few days ago from Simba village, I was told, my gumbo, you know what? It's not going anywhere. People no longer believe that you can see through the full justice. When an arrest is made, that person should get a stiff sentence. Those 10 years, which are in the Domestic Violence Act, is what we are talking about. And also appropriately naming the crime. What is having sex with them? Let's talk about raping a minor instead of having sex with a minor.
How do you think Africa has fared in trying to tackle some of these issues?
We have the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child. And yes, in 2015, and I'm glad that Zimbabwe was chairing the African Union, we have the Africa Common Position on ending child marriage adopted by the heads of states, to which they are accountable to themselves. We have seen good progress around legislation. We've seen a number of countries, talk of Mozambique, their recent family code, Malawi, good progress we've seen around the laws when we go to Niger and other countries. So around laws, there is progress on passing laws. We also have good progress around education, like every girl in school, and re-entry policies, which is good. We also see that there is more attention that is being provided to access to adolescent health. But with that progress that we are seeing, it's not sufficiently translating to national budgets, being allocated sufficient funding which enables the local services to be available in the whole continent. We don't see enough
Nyarada,
domestic
you forgive
violence.
me, I'll just have to
Yes,
hold
please.
you, just hold that thought. We will be back with the conversation as we are taking a look on issues to do with ending early marriages.
World Vision is a global Christian relief, development, and advocacy organization dedicated to working with children, families, and communities to overcome poverty and injustice. World Vision serves all people, regardless of religion, race, ethnicity, or gender. World Vision: hope, joy, and justice for all children.
You're still watching Inside Out. Thank you so much for choosing us. Now we are tracking the issue on early marriages, and before we went for the break, we were speaking to Nyarada, who was just telling us part of her work as AU Goodwill Ambassador. And I want to continue with the conversation with you, and now particularly looking at the SADC model law on protecting children and eradicating early marriages. Have we, fully implemented it as a country?
I think the first sticking point is that Zimbabwe is not domesticated by legislation, the SADC model law. And at the same time, we know that Zimbabwe was so much one of the co-movers of the motion, was Honorable Gonase, was one of the co-movers of the SADC model law. So we actually gave the impetus and the thought. So the first sticking point is we need as a country to domesticate the SADC model law. Secondly, and I'm excited that we hope that SADC Parliamentary Forum will become a parliament soon, and that Zimbabwe will ratify the protocol, because otherwise it would be automatic in terms of binding. The other sticking point, which we still see in Zimbabwe, like in any other countries, is how to transform the negative social, cultural, and religious norms. Where pedophiles, as we have heard from Commissioner Mauye, to borrow her word, are hiding behind the veil of religion, the veil of culture and traditions. So it's also very exciting to see that within SADC we've seen chiefs and traditional leaders in the SADC region starting to develop bylaws to say within their chiefdoms, they are standing by the SADC model law and by their constitutions to end child marriage, whether it's Chief Mangwende or Chief Madzimawe in Zambia or Chief Kachindamoto in Malawi. So that has been important to see. That the last sticking point that we have, and which is very, very critical, is I go back again to the reality in the village. In the villages, we are over 70% rural. These cases are happening in rural areas. And also in Africa, I live in Mashonaland Central. We are very rich province. We also see that in communities where there are potential resources, mining, agriculture, it's also where you have the least services. Godi yoyi.
Where
So
we
what
have,
we
Makorokoza
and so
preying on
to
those
conclude
children.
on this point is that the SADC region needs to, what we are seeing is implementation of the SADC model law requires access to services in rural areas, which enables girls and children to have a secure future.
Now we're joined by Dr. Nashanu. He joins us via Skype. He is chairperson of the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on the Caucus of Children's Rights. Dr. Nashanu, how are you?
I'm fine, and you?
I'm very well, thank you.
And thank you for having me.
I'm sure you're following with the conversation. And now we want to look at the legal side of it. Let's look at the Children's Act in Zimbabwe, which has a lot of loopholes in as far as defining who a child is. Is this being treated as an urgent matter?
It is encouraging that in the country, on the part of Parliament and on the part of government in general, there is a sign of commitment in as far as children's issues are concerned. If you check the SONA address of the president last year, it spoke comprehensively about the Children's Amendment Bill. And you realize that on the 27th of July 2021, Cabinet approved the Children's Amendment. which is one of the important pieces of legislation in promoting and protecting children's rights. Parliament moved a motion to set up a parliamentary caucus on child rights. All these efforts are to ensure that our children are protected. As we speak, we are waiting for the Children's Amendment Bill, and we think the Children's Amendment Bill is going to be an answer to the current challenges that we are facing. Once the Children's Amendment Bill appears before Parliament, we will then be able to debate and come up with the proper definition of who a child is in the country.
Mm-hmm. So
in addition, we have the marriage.
I'll just have to hold you a little bit there, Dr. Nyashanu, because we want to really find out where we are and how soon we can have a comprehensive law that protects children. Because we can talk about, parliamentary portfolio committees having been, come up with, a lot of issues are on the table. But this is an urgent matter that needs to be addressed. And I think it just requires the urgency that it deserves. Where are we and how soon are we looking forward to coming up with this law that will protect the child?
Your question is better answered by the executive. But from a parliament perspective, our role is to put pressure on the executive. Once the Children's Amendment Bill appears before Parliament, we will then be able to debate and come up with the proper definition of who a child is in the country.
Now, Commissioner, we want to hear from you now. Do you think we have, any countries in Africa that have managed to tackle early marriages?
I think there are countries which are making headway. Well, perhaps she did mention the issue, countries like Malawi, Rwanda, and so on. But I would not want us to compare countries as such, because the realities are different. And the challenges that we face are different. So I think we need to compare ourselves, perhaps with ourselves, and say what is happening to our country. We have a constitution which is very progressive, especially in terms of gender equality provisions. And what are we doing? I hear the Honorable Chief saying they are, putting pressure. But the constitution is already there. And we are saying, why don't we use that constitution already?
Now, let's look at you as the Zimbabwe Gender Commission. What role have you played in trying to end early marriages?
The first thing that we have done is something like a baseline to understand what is happening, what are the legal provisions that are there, and then we have done a report, and it is on our website, the ZGC website. But we continue to monitor, because we are like a watchdog. So we continue to monitor violations, and we actually do research. And when people come with complaints, we do follow those complaints. And like this Anna Machaya case, very soon you're going to see a government gazette where we are actually going to conduct that research according to the provisions of the Gender Commission Act.
Now, the conversation on early marriages continues. Dr. Nyashanu joined us on the line and told us that as Parliament, they're trying all they can to make sure that as a country we have our laws in place that fully protect the child and hopefully end early marriages. We're off to a break. Join us when we return.
World Vision is a global Christian relief, development, and advocacy organization dedicated to working with children, families, and communities to overcome poverty and injustice. World Vision serves all people, regardless of religion, race, ethnicity, or gender. World Vision: hope, joy, and justice for all children.
This is Inside Out on ZVC News. Now, Nyarazai, I know we talked about this earlier on, the issue of gender roles and how they fuel early marriages in a society. This is actually for you, Commissioner. How they fuel early marriages. How do you think we can then tackle it and make sure that maybe some of those problems that we're facing come to an end?
When we're talking about gender roles, I suppose you mean the different roles that people are allocated within the family, within society, and that children and women are allocated mostly reproductive roles, caring roles. So I still think that we can, people can change the way they are allocating those roles so that there is equality in terms of opportunities. Girls also going to school, boys going to school, and being able to do to perform responsibilities in the home, because it is not just for the girl child to do all the household work, but the children must be treated equally, because in life it is not about a man waiting for the woman to do all the work, but for people in the family to allocate responsibilities equally. So I think it is possible that we can challenge the current gender roles. And also, I think the most important thing is children being able to go to school, because education is the one that opens opportunities.
Mm-hmm. Now, education opens opportunities. That's a given. Do you think this is a conversation that we're having enough in Africa as a whole, especially from your position as Goodwill Ambassador?
I think the issue of education is very clear within the continental plans. We even have a whole commission, a department at the African Union Commission on education. But I want to come back to the issue of resourcing. I sit as a member of the external advisory group to the IMF Managing Director, to Mr. Kristalina. And I know that Zimbabwe just received $1 billion. And the last 1 year, when we were in those spaces of advocating for the SDR, as an impact of COVID-19, some of us was that we want this SDR to come to education in our village, to come to our girls, because one of the greatest social impacts of COVID-19 has been on children. So education is a priority. And we see that globally, we have also just had the Global Partnership on Education, which I also know funds Zimbabwe significantly. The question that we have is, how are these resources reaching that local school in Binga, in Mbembezi, that local school in Jombwe school? So, because talking about education is important, but having short distance for girls to walk shorter distance, for us to have guidance and counseling in school, so that when the teachers responsible for guidance and counseling are equipped, the girls who wants to do re-entry have been assisted with social protection measures for someone to take care of the little child and for them not to face stigma in schools. This requires resources. So I feel the discussion now, it's no longer on whether education is important. Okay. The question is, are we resourcing sufficiently the critical interventions that will keep girls in school, that would have re-entry for those? And I'm very excited to see girls like Samantha Chidodo, Catherine, and others who experienced child marriage, came back to school, and now they are at a former university doing law. So we want to say the millions of girls on the continent that may have experienced teenage pregnancy and child marriage, it's a transient experience. It should not be a coffin for their future. Through education, through economic empowerment for girls, we unleash their potential. So unleashing potential for those who experience child marriage and prevention is important. So we have to deal with the prevention, the care, and the future, but not forgetting birth certificates.
Commissioner, as we conclude, it's unfortunate we've run out of time, but your parting words as we just conclude this topical conversation.
children are our legacy. And it is our responsibilities as parents and communities to ensure that they don't go into this, what we're calling early marriage, but I'm saying no to child mothers.
She's saying no to child mothers, as you conclude.
No to pedophiles. Let them just be arrested and get the appropriate sentence. Let fathers be responsible. Pastors, bishops, traditional leaders, protect men in positions of responsibility, be responsible.
Let us be responsible citizens. Let us be responsible parents. Let us take care of our children and make sure that they do not fall victim to early marriages. They do not fall victim to pedophiles who are preying on them, raping them, and denying them of their basic rights. We all want to go to school. We all want to be free. We all want to make decisions for our own. So why make decisions for children? Why make them just get married at an early age? Dr. Nyashanu, I know you're still joining us. Just your parting words as we conclude this conversation.
All I say is that the Constitution is very explicit about the rights of children. And our Constitution is one of the most progressive constitutions in Africa. And all we need to do is to be able to implement what is in the Constitution, what is in the laws of the country. I thank you.
Thank you very much for those parting words. Many thanks to our partners, World Vision, for making this discussion a success. We will continue again next week. We will pick up where we left off. Please make sure that you join us. Make sure that you give us your views and comments and just be part of this extraordinary conversation, because you and I are really part of this, and we will bring an end to early marriages. Ladies, thank you very much for having joined us.
Thank you.
And until we meet again next week, pleasant viewing.
This program was brought to you by World Vision in Zimbabwe.